Hello everyone watching on YouTube and welcome back to Xenoblade Chronicles 3. Let's load back up the game. Today we're gonna make some major story progress because I really want to. I really want to know what's going on with the story. Like, the storyline is the thing I'm most into in the game right now, so I really want to see where it's going. And I'm also, I gotta talk about some stuff before we really get underway here. Because I was talking, where am I? Oh, right, because the Colony 5 or whatever was near... Right, okay, I remember. I was so confused. I'm like, what am I doing here? Why am I not in the ocean? Wasn't I in the ocean before? But I got some stuff to talk about before we get underway here today. I was talking to my boy Michael off stream. We were having a little chat. You know, we could probably do this 3 Ravens at War now. We're like level 52, right? We should get that done today before we get to... I want to get back into the Erythea Sea and get to the Agnian Castle. But I've been talking to my boy Michael, and I have kind of come to the conclusion that I'm still really enjoying the game. The game is fun, but these last couple of streams, I have started to feel a little bit of, like, drag with the gameplay. Not like, I'm not getting, like, straight up bored, like, oh, it's a chore, but I am starting to feel like the gameplay is getting to a little bit of tedium for me, personally. And I talked with Michael about it a lot, and I think why that is because I don't really find much enjoyment from the progression style of the class system and making your characters better and whatnot. I mean, it's no secret that I'm not really a big fan of the class system in general. I don't really like how it's set up. I much prefer it in, like, I almost said Kingdom Hearts 1. This is not Kingdom Hearts. In Xenoblade 1, where, you learn arts through levels, and then you can, like, pick and choose your arts between your different characters, and then set up, and then you get to, like, upgrade them with the books and AP throughout the game, as well as the way the skill tree system worked in Xenoblade, and how gems worked in Xenoblade. But I was talking with Michael, and I was like... I'm like, oh, there's just a bunch of little things in Xenoblade 3, purely on the gameplay perspective, that's kind of like, it's not really gripping me anymore. I'm kind of like getting a little, it's getting a little dull.
Actually, he's the shy and sensitive type.
He is very shy and sensitive, you're not wrong. But, basically what I'm getting at, where I'm going with this, is that I don't think the gameplay in this game is bad by any means. I think I have come to the conclusion that I do not like that they jumped to 7 characters in the party. Because I feel like with the way the class system is set up and how you upgrade classes just by, hey, play as different class, rank it up to 10 and then to 20, etc. I just don't find as satisfying as having, like, a point-based system where I can, like, get points from doing things in the game, normally fighting enemies, and then pouring them into the arts that I like or the arts that I use, which buffs them as it goes. I also don't like having to constantly get new classes and switch them to get new arts and skills in general, instead of just, you know, the character gaining and learning those skills and arts throughout their own, like how it was in Xenoblade 1. So that, plus the fact that you have 6 characters, it just feels like so much micromanaging to me. Because in Xenoblade 1 and Xenoblade 2 as well, because Xenoblade 2 only had 3 characters you have to use, you didn't have to worry too much at all times about all your characters, because you could just focus on the ones that you were using in the moment. Like in Xenoblade 1, I'm going to use that as my example because I have not played Xenoblade 2 in like 7 years. In Xenoblade 1, you could be like, alright, I'm going to play as Dunban, Shulk, and Rhyme for a little bit. So I really only need to worry about them very much right now because they're the characters I'm using. So I can focus on looking at their arts and upgrading them, which is very simple and easy to do. It doesn't involve going into the class thing and looking at the multitude of, like, what got to level 10, what didn't, what arts and skills do I unlock if I look at the other stuff, etc., etc. It's just a matter of, like, oh, go to Dunban, here are Dunban's skills, look at them. Go to Dunban's arts, here's Dunban's arts, let's, you know, upgrade them if I can, etc. Instead, there's just so much extra rigmarole that I have to go through to look at, like, alright, so what skills and arts come from each of these? What level do I have to get the thing to? Then I have to go through the go through, like, the very long lineup of all the ones that I've unlocked and, like, what they're upgraded at, and etc., etc. And I have to do that 6 times because I need all 6 characters to be ready to go at all times. And then I also have to go look at accessories and gyms after the fact to be like, all right, now I changed your class, so it's messed up your accessories. What accessory do I need to change? What do you need? It's just a lot. It's a lot, and there's nothing necessarily wrong with having a lot going on in your game if it's fun and, like, meaningful, but I feel like the class system in 3 isn't. I don't really enjoy going through it as much as I did, not just in Xenoblade 1, but just in other games, like upgrading, like, magics and stuff that you, or keyblades and whatnot that you have in, like, Kingdom Hearts, or, stuff like the magic gems you get in Final Fantasy VII-R, or the different weapons and whatnot that you can get in, like, Tales of series, different armor and so on and so forth, the different arts you unlock in Tales of, stuff like that. I feel like Xenoblade 3, to me, is really lacking in making this fun. It feels like a lot more of working out the arts, skills, accessories, and everything in Xenoblade 3, especially now, has started to feel like a chore to me. Like, it's just not enjoyable, and every time I feel like I have to do it, I'm like, oh, great. I have to go through, like, I gotta switch Senna to a new class. I gotta go through, like, so much stuff to get it to where she's usable again. And because you have so many dang characters in combat in this game, you can't really, like, put one aside for a little while. I can't be like, oh, I'll just focus on, like, Noah, Lance, and Mio, because they're the ones I'm using in combat anyway. Instead, it's a matter of, like, I've got to go through all 6 characters, because if even one of these characters isn't, like, doing their job, then we're gonna lose, because the game is balanced around you having 6/7 characters at all times. So, I have really felt like the past couple of streams that combination of stuff, along with a lot of the gameplay, basically the boss fights, the Mobius specifically, just being huge HP sponges, which I know I'm on hard mode, but if I switch the game to normal mode, I feel like I'm going to start blazing through everything that isn't story mode bosses, which isn't really fun to me. You know what I'm saying? If I'm just like, every other combat is pointless except for bosses, kinda. Not a big fan of that. But, the boss fights are just so long and HP spongy, and if you end up having your rezzers die from an AoE attack out of nowhere, then, hey, guess what? This 15-minute fight you had with a Mobius just became a 30-minute fight with a Mobius because you have to redo it. So, I'm not saying that I dislike the game, and I think the combat is, like, fine. Probably even I would say the combat is good, because chain attacks are really fun. The positioning stuff that goes on with positional arts is fun, because that's very much like Xenoblade 1. And I enjoy that, but the big boss fights are starting to become a little tedious to me. And overall, I feel like the combat in general is starting to it's just starting to, like, drag a little bit for me. And I was telling Michael the other day, because he mostly agreed with me. I don't want to paraphrase him too much, because I don't want to misrepresent Michael. But basically, he agreed with me. He was like, I'm not feeling the drag as much as you, and I don't dislike the class system as much as you, but he's like, but I see what you're saying, and I kind of agree. And he was like, definitely, I think they did it better in Xenoblade 1, etc., because we're both huge Xenoblade 1 fans. But, basically what I'm getting at, I told Michael, is that if this game had only been about 60 hours, because I'm only really starting to feel the drag now that we're coming up on the 70-hour mark. So I was telling Michael, like, I feel like I wouldn't like the battle system more if the game had ended at, like, 60 hours, but I feel like I wouldn't start to be feeling this, like, drag of, like, oh, things are starting to get a little tedious for me if the game wasn't, like, 100 hours long. Because, like, I'm starting to feel this drag now at the 70-hour mark, and I imagine we've got probably at least, like, another 30 hours, give or take, depending on how we play the game and whatnot. And I am worried that I'm going to start disliking the game. Not like, I don't think anything could really happen unless the story takes a major nosedive, like, into bad territory. I don't think anything could change my mind about Xenoblade 3 being a good game. This has been a very good game. I've enjoyed it. I have my issues with it, but I've had a fun time. But I'm worried that my enjoyment is going to start diminishing from here on the longer I have to keep going, and it starts to feel like more and more tedious to me. So with that in mind, basically this entire like 10-minute ramble at the start of this YouTube video and at the start of my stream has been to explain my feelings on that I kind of worked out after I was chatting with Michael and after last stream, but didn't talk about on stream yet, is to explain that and to basically say, I think what I'm gonna do now, because again, I think the main issue is that the gameplay is starting to drag a bit, and it's only gonna drag more and more the longer I'm playing the game. So I have come to the decision that I'm basically gonna start ignoring side quests, except for side quests that have this little hero mark next to it. I'm still interested in doing the side quests that are like, oh, this is specific to like Triton. It shows you some more cool stuff with Triton or whatever, or with Gray, Juniper, etc. I want to do those side quests because they're the most interesting ones. But basically every other side quest in the game, like Romero and Julieta and probably, maybe Teach's Teachers I'll do because it involves Teach to some extent. But like, I'm basically like, look at all of these side quests that I have to do right now. It just makes the game take so much longer. And I feel like if I just keep focusing on doing so many side quests, the game is going to take like an extra 20 hours, give or take, and then it's really, I'm just going to start, it's going to start dragging for me even more, and it's going to end up making me dislike the game to an extent. So, I'm still really interested in the main story. The heroes have been pretty neat so far, pretty much all of them. I don't think there's really been one that I've been like, oh, I hate this one or anything. The heroes have been interesting, and I still like the main cast. So, basically what I'm getting at is from here on in the playthrough, what we're gonna do is main story and hero quests. Or hero side quests. These aren't actually hero quests. Hero quests are the yellow ones, I think. But, that's how I'm gonna start approaching the game, because I feel like if I keep trying to do, like, a stream every now and then that is 4 hours of me going through side quests, then my opinion of the game is going to significantly drop as a result. And I'm interested to hear, no one in chat is saying anything, so maybe there's a bunch of people just silently disagreeing with me, but I'm interested to hear what other people who play the game think, because Michael didn't, like, he's not 100% of my opinion, but he's pretty on my side about it. Lone Wolf, sadly, is not here today. I was really hoping Lone Wolf, or he's not here yet. I was hoping Lone Wolf would be here because I wanted to hear his opinion on it, but that's kind of how I'm feeling about Xenoblade 3 right now. Still enjoying it, still having a good time. Starting to get a little bit of burnout with the game, I guess you would say, to an extent. And so to counteract that burnout, I basically want to, like, not speed run the game, but not make the game take longer than it needs to, for me to finish it in a satisfying, in what is a satisfying manner to me. So that's what we're gonna do, basically. Please die. Go away. Bum, 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 bum. There's something else I wanted to say. What was the other thing I wanted to say? Die, Zord. Oh, crud. I had another point I wanted to make, but I cannot remember it. I had it in my head a second ago. I understand your point and can see it, but I don't mind the system and don't feel it as a drag, so I have much more fun. Well, it's not so much, I'm not saying the class system alone is the drag. I think it's a combination of things. It's the class system plus just the way combat is in general. I'm not a fan of 7-people combat. I don't think it's bad, but also, like, I've already said throughout the playthrough, like, I'm not a huge fan of there being so many dang people, like, on screen doing stuff at once. It makes it a good bit harder to keep up with what is even happening in combat. And so all of that combined with the game being, like, 100 hours, it just all adds up to, like, I've hit the 70-hour mark, and now I'm really starting to, like, drag on my enjoyment. Give me up, give me up, give me up. Thank you, thank you. I feel like I wouldn't feel like I need to start speed running, basically. Not speed running, but going quicker if it weren't for, if the game was just shorter in general. Also, we apparently can still not do this. We could not get to a chain attack. We're only one level lower, but these guys just do a ton of damage. Like, a lot. Should have done more. Nah, I won't retry. We'll do that one later. All right, cool, cool, cool. And I don't, like... I know that I remember the other point I was gonna make. I don't want people to think like, oh, so you're saying that it's bad just because the game is 100 hours? I like more time in my games, or whatever. That's not the case. Like, did you see me play Tales of Arise, Persona 5, Persona 5 Royal, etc., etc.? I don't have problems with games being like 100 hours long. Like, I'm all down for it if the game is a fun time. But I feel like this game, to me, really I start to feel the drag on it as I've gotten further in. And so I obviously wouldn't be getting to that point of like, oh, the game really feels like it's dragging its heels a bit for me if the game had ended 10 hours ago. I wouldn't, if I could change something about Xenoblade 3 to try and fix this issue that I have felt with it for the past like 5-ish hours in the game, I wouldn't be like, what needs to happen is the game length needs to be shortened. I think that the combat is, whoops. I think that the combat is good, but could definitely be better. The main thing I feel like is it's just, I do not find satisfaction in leveling up my characters through the way the class system and the accessories and gems work in this game. When they first introduced us to how gems work in this game, I thought I would like it a good bit with how streamlined it was, but I actually find I just like it less than Xenoblade 1, because in Xenoblade 1, like, you got gems easily. It was just like pick up ether when you're going around, and then you can make gems of some kind, like, pretty much always. In this game, it's like, oh, to get a gem, you have to get specific materials, and again, because there's just so many small things that add up in this game, and so much micromanaging that, like, needs to be done for it, and all, I just feel like anytime I look at the gems and I'm like, oh, I'm missing 1 or 2 items, do I want to go try and hunt those items down? I'm like, no, not really, because, like, I already have so many other little things that I'm doing. Am I really gonna take my time to hunt down one specific enemy drop or one specific item drop so I can upgrade my level 3 gem to a level 4 or level 5 gem? I'm like, I ain't got time for that. I just ain't got time for it. But anyways, that's how I've been feeling about the game. I want to make it clear again, I'm still enjoying the game. I'm mostly interested in the story. And the characters have also been very neat too, as I said. I'm not like loving the character. Can I disembark right here? Can I like... Oh, there's a little thing to the side. Okay, cool. I was about to say, like, is this where I'm supposed to get here? But, I like the characters. I think they're all good. They've still got more time and more room to grow. I'm not really feeling for any of the characters in this game as much as I do with, like, some of my favorites. Is there... Oh, there's a husk right here.
We can't just leave this be.
Like, obviously Xenoblade 1, but I don't like to use Xenoblade 1 as my only example. Mio's phasing out of existence. Don't mind that. But, Xenoblade 1, I liked the characters a lot more and really enjoyed their stories more. Most of the Tales of games I play, Kingdom Hearts, Final Fantasy VII, etc. So this must be one of those areas where enemies always aggro. So I like the characters in this game, but at the moment, it could change. They could get even more development as we go, obviously. There's still plenty of time left in the game, I assume. But I'm not feeling for any of the characters in this game like I am for some of my favorites. I think they're all pretty neat, but I'm not like, oh, dude, this character, like, Lance, love Lance, one of the best, you know? I think he's good, but I'm not, as of right now, I'm not gonna get to the point where I'm like, oh, dude, when I think of great characters in video games, I think of Lance. Please die.